motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Some disappointing news out of the women's bantamweight division. Disappointing at least for Shannon Courtenay. According to WBA champion Nina Hughes, she's absolutely devastated to announce that Shannon Courtenay has shat herself and pulled out of their world title fight. A new opponent has already been confirmed and will be announced shortly.
The show will be going on for Nina Hughes, but not for Shannon Courtenay. They were supposed to fight on the undercard of Sonny Edwards' Matchroom debut opposite the ring Campos.
But according to Shannon Courtenay, the former champion herself, after doctors agreeing I need to have further surgery on my knee, I'm devastated to say I won't be fighting in June.
According to Shannon.
Nina can claim I've shat it, but the fact of the matter is, I need to have two working legs to fight. Our fight was originally meant for April 1st, which she pulled out of due to an injury, and I was understanding professional about the whole situation because these things happen in a sport. Shame she couldn't have the same approach. I wish Nina and her team the best of luck on June 10th. I'll see you soon. I'll be taking some time off from socials as this entire situation has gutted me, and I don't want my mental health to be affected further.
That's the story according to Shannon Courtenay. Shannon herself says the knee's acting up again, the knee that was already operated on, whereas Nina tells a very different story.
She's saying in so many words that Shannon Courtenay shat herself, that she is a complete time waster and unprofessional, obviously well overweight, and lost her bottle.
Nina's saying it's a weight issue, not a knee issue.
To which Shannon Courtenay responded, so having to have another surgery on my knee is shitting it. How about you pulling out of our fight in April? Don't see me putting up an unprofessional post about you. Good luck in June, to which Nina Hughes replied, bollocks. You tried to pull out 2 weeks ago, asking for an 8-rounder instead, so that weren't an injury.
Two things can be true at the same time. If Nina Hughes is telling the truth and 2 weeks ago Shannon requested an 8-rounder instead of this fight, it could have been because the knee was acting up.
Could have been. Though, whether you go with Shannon's account of events or Nina's, it all means the same thing. Shannon won't be fighting for the WBA title in June. Nina's gonna fight somebody else. Don't know who yet.
You know that I actually had Shannon Courtenay winning that fight? I felt that Shannon would become a 2-time WBA bantamweight champion in the Nina Hughes fight.
Provided that she had two good legs under her. According to Shannon, she doesn't, and the knee needs further working on. I don't know who to believe, though it all communicates the same thing, whether you go with Nina's account of events or Shannon's.
Her career has lost a lot of traction, a lot of momentum. Here today, it's not where it should be.
This was intended to be a segue to an Ebony Bridges showdown. An Ebony Bridges rematch for Shannon if she beat Nina, or a unification match for Nina if she beat Shannon.
It would have been a unification match either way, but you get the gist of it. This was supposed to be a segue into a Bridges fight later on this year.
Boxing is a funny old sport. It's a funny old game because in many ways, Ebony Bridges is assuming the role that was intended for Shannon Courtenay.
She's doing a good job. In many ways, she is the face of the women's bantamweight division, a more consummate professional, I'd say, than Shannon.
Many people did you see criticizing Ebony Bridges for being comfortable in her own skin, wearing lingerie to weigh-ins and displaying her body.
She's comfortable. She knows she's hot.
Is that a crime? To some people it was, and she received a lot of criticism for that. But what time has proven is that Ebony Bridges is a more consummate professional than the more modest and conservative Shannon Courtenay. Shannon's blown the weight before, you know.
Remember what Nina said. This is bullshit, and this is all a weight issue. Shannon's not on weight. That's what Nina's saying.
Just so happens that Shannon Courtenay, she has had weight issues in the past.
Yeah.
She has missed weight before. You know, she actually got into the sport because she used boxing as a means to lose weight.
Many years ago, she was a much more heavy-set woman, and she used boxing as a means to shed the pounds. She ended up liking it, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Is it possible that Shannon Courtenay has outgrown the women's bantamweight division and she needs to move upstairs to 122 pounds, perhaps?
I don't know, but I just know that here and now, her career is not where it should be. She's lost a lot of traction, a lot of momentum. This was a big opportunity for her.
Shannon Courtenay, who's not anybody's sweetheart. She won't be winning any popularity contest. She rubs a lot of people the wrong way. If you're Eddie Hearn and you've invested in this fighter for as long as he's invested in this fighter, knowing that there are so many other girls out there in the UK boxing scene, the American one, that would kill for a chance to fight in the fights that Shannon's been offered.
Like this one.
I just wonder what Eddie Hearn thinks about all this, that maybe he should look to invest in Shannon's replacement because at this point she's just not reliable.
Somebody like a Bree Howling from Canada.
A much younger fighter than a Shannon Courtenay with a very high ceiling.
Her last fight was at 122 pounds, but I think she could finagle getting down to 118. She's not a big woman.
Listen, even if she can't, it's not just about having a bantamweight in the bantamweight division. You've already got Ebony Bridges and Nina Hughes under contract. It's Shannon that you need to replace.
Wonder if that crosses Eddie Hearn's mind.
You've invested your time, you've invested your money into making fights for this fighter, and at this point, you just start to ask yourself, what the hell am I getting out of this?
Shannon's not popular, and she's not a champion. I get her a title fight?
Something goes wrong. There's always something going wrong with this fighter. I wonder how much
How much patience does he have?
The bantamweight division is a talent-rich division, full of young fighters, young up-and-comers, just anywhere at or around these weights. There's a proliferation of talent.
Shannon's always got problems.
So whether it's the knee issue or the weight issue, like Nina says it's a weight issue, it all means the same thing. She ain't gonna be fighting for the WBA title in June.
I'll be honest, I thought Shannon was gonna beat Nina, but if she's not gonna be fighting her...
Depending on what does happen in Nina's next fight, I guess it's going to be Bridges versus Hughes. Bridges versus Nina Hughes for the IBF and WBA titles. In men's heavyweight news, per a tweet from Michael Benson, Eddie Hearn has now insisted that Anthony Joshua will fight again in August and said he wants to make the Dillian Whyte rematch, regardless of whether or not AJ first finalizes a deal to fight Deontay Wilder in Saudi in December.
I feel like Eddie Hearn is more excited about that Whyte rematch than we are. I don't see a need for it.
I feel like for you to generate excitement for that rematch, that second fight, you would need for both Anthony and Dillian to rack up a couple more wins respectively to show their shit and create excitement organically, as opposed to just going into a second fight, which almost seems forced.
Kind of.
I'd rather see Anthony Joshua versus Filip Prgovic. I'd rather see Anthony Joshua versus Otto Wallin. I'd rather see Anthony in a lot of different fights besides that Whyte rematch. I would, but because Dillian
was in the market for a Joe Joyce fight, and had Joe Joyce won, he would have fought him.
I still felt like he could have fought him even though he lost. That, going straight into a Zile Zhang rematch, that may not be the right move. And, you can fight Dillian, make some money. He's box office in the UK. He's been on pay-per-view several times. You can look to rebound off the loss to Zhang with Dillian and then go back into that Zhang rematch.
The Zhang fight.
But Joe Joyce exercised his right to a second fight. He exercised his rematch clause, so it looks like neither Joe or Zhang are going to be available for anybody else but each other, which means Dillian, he's free to have a rematch with Anthony.
It is what it is.
And Eddie Hearn has confirmed that Saudi Arabia reps are willing to make Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder in December, even if Tyson Fury versus Usyk doesn't happen. However, he said they remain deadly serious about staging both fights on the same card.
On the same night.
The Dillian Whyte fight would serve as a prelude to a Wilder showdown.
Eddie thinks Anthony can outbox him.
He said, I think he can outbox Deontay Wilder. I really do. Also, don't forget, we really don't know where Wilder is in terms of his punch resistance, everything. He may not be the same fighter after those Tyson Fury fights.
We didn't get the chance to find out in his last one because Robert Helenius didn't land a punch.
Hardly a fight. It only lasted one round, so we really don't know where Wilder's punch resistance is after those two systematic beatings at the hands of Tyson Fury.
His punch resistance.
You can safely say that in the last 12 months, Deontay Wilder has only fought for all of one round. Just one round. Is he going to fight in the summer?
And if so, who against? We know Anthony is.
Mean to fight Dillian Whyte for the second time. This will be his second fight under the watchful eye and tutelage of Derek James. They're talking about doing this in August, which doesn't conflict with a proposed Spence versus Crawford fight in July. Rumor has it that they mean to do that fight for late July on the 22nd.
Spence versus Crawford.
Joshua versus Whyte would be going down the following month in August.
No problem.
Because Anthony Joshua is now based out of Texas, he's over there with Derek James in the same space, same place as Errol Spence Jr., as Jermel Charlo. There's no problems.
No scheduling conflicts.
It's not an either-or situation for Derek James, who he's going to work with and when. He can work with the both of them since they're under the same roof.
Eddie Hearn has stated that they're hoping to receive a formal offer from the Saudis this week for Anthony Joshua to fight Deontay Wilder in December.
Joshua versus Wilder has been a rekindled, renewed conversation the last couple of weeks and the last couple of months. So in the last couple of weeks, Deontay Wilder's racked himself up a gun charge in Los Angeles.
Could that hamper his mobility? Could that affect his ability to travel, to have this fight with Anthony Joshua?
That's something to think about. Eddie Hearn is of the opinion that Anthony can outbox Deontay Wilder. Outboxing him, I just don't think that's the way to go. To disarm this guy and take away his right hand, you have to take a more aggressive approach. You have to get on your front foot to put him on his back foot. He's no good off the back foot.
Step into your jab, step into your punches whilst minding the right hand. It's the only good shot he's got. He ain't got a quality left hook or a good uppercut.
Doesn't have much of a jab either. All he's really got is a right hand. A strong one. Deontay Wilder, characteristically, he hasn't been a prolific puncher, a combination puncher, and I've said it before. It's because I don't think he has the cardio.
To work more in around?
He doesn't have the cardio.
You remember, in the third Wilder versus Fury fight, in the first round, opening round, Wilder was busier than usual, using his jab.
Sticking Tyson Fury upstairs, downstairs, targeting his midsection. He was working, and it was working in the first round. But by the second round, he was already tired. By the third, he was already breathing with his mouth open.
In that very first round.
He doesn't have the cardio.
To be busier all of a 3-minute round consistently, he doesn't have the cardio for that.
Because he's only fought for all of one round in the last 12 months, if he don't fight this summer, that's not encouraging for a December showdown. Assuming it happens.
It's ambitious, but it ain't promised. Nothing in life is.
Not a guarantee they get that Wilder versus Joshua fight over the line. Not a guarantee they get that entire show, that entire card, ambitious and appealing, attractive as the show is. Getting all those guys on the same show, the same card.
It's a boxing fan's dream.
It's almost too good to be true, but this is boxing. And in the sport of boxing, if something seems too good to be true, it usually is.
Outboxing Deontay Wilder ain't the way to go. You gotta bully him.
Mind the right hand when you do it, but that's what you have to do. You have to force him onto his back foot because he's no good there. Force him to work, lump him up, get your punches in there.
But mind the right hand. The whole time you have to look out for it.
Seen in previous instances like the Artur Spilka fight, the Gerald Washington fight, the Luis Ortiz fights, the guys will start having success with Deontay Wilder, winning rounds and landing punches, being effective. They'll get callous, they'll get cavalier, and they'll get caught.
You get knocked out.
Wilder is what? 38 going on 40. This guy's no spring chicken, and you know what they say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. His cardio's been characteristically bad before. I think it's still bad here today, which means the way to beating this guy is to smother his work, smother his right hand, take it away from him, and bully him around. Push him around.
Force him to work.
Well, you get in work. That's how to beat him. I don't think after just one fight, just one or two fights with Malik Scotch in his corner, that he's a completely different fighter.
Gotta be aggressive with that guy.
And just in keeping with the theme of all things heavyweight, unified heavyweight and Ring Magazine champion Alexander Usyk on Martin Bakole claiming to have stopped him in sparring. People can come up with different stories, but you don't have to believe everything you hear. Boxing is not only a sport, but also a show. Therefore, many people want to attract attention for public relations, and in that way, there is an air of truth to what Usyk is saying, because why else would Martin Bakole run around telling people about things that happen in sparring? What happens in sparring, at least it used to be,
It used to stay in sparring.
in previous eras of boxing, it used to. You only used to hear whispers and rumors. These days, guys will tell you outright.
And for what?
What?
Why tell people that you lumped up Joe Joyce? Why tell people that you lumped up Alexander Usyk in sparring? What does that accomplish?
It gets you attention, which speaks to what Alexander Usyk is saying, that if he's doing what he's doing it for attention. He was also asked to give his assessment of Tyson Fury, and in his own words he said, a big man who has very good abilities in boxing and in life, but this big man is very afraid of losing.
Some would cite Tyson Fury's behavior in those negotiations as evidence of what Usyk is saying, that Tyson Fury, he just doesn't fancy that Alexander Usyk fight.
And he never did. He's been trying to belittle and berate Alexander Usyk any way he can, minimize the importance of having an undisputed champion, the importance of all the belts, the prestige.
Some people think he's afraid of Alexander Usyk. Alexander Usyk himself thinks he's afraid of losing.
All of that no man born of his mother crap flies right out the window if this guy suffers a loss. And as big an egomaniac as he is,
He'll take it hard.
so will his fans. Alexander Usyk has said that negotiations for him to fight Tyson Fury in Saudi Arabia in December are now stuck at an impasse. However, he remains confident and added that the fight will take place sooner or later, and everything will be decided in the ring.
Alexander Usyk is not a fighter that historically experiences a lot of issues making a fight.
If you think that Tyson Fury is a road warrior for beating Klitschko in Dusseldorf and Wilder in America. Alexander Usyk's been the away fighter far more times than Tyson Fury.
By and large, he fought Michael Hunter in America, Krzysztof Glowacki in Poland,
Maris Briedis in Latvia, Murat Gassiev in Russia.
Tony Bellew, Derek Chisora, and Anthony Joshua, all in the United Kingdom. This is not a hard guy to work with. Not a hard guy to make a fight with. He isn't.
Don't forget that before the fight got moved from Saudi over to the United Kingdom, where it collapsed, according to Bob Arum, who promotes Tyson Fury, the Usyk people, they had already accepted their end of the deal. They had already accepted their offer. They were just waiting on Luke.
They were waiting on Fury.
Usyk is not a hard guy to work with. That's what his track record shows. And, some months have passed, some things have happened, but if they're now at an impasse, you get the sense that it's Tyson Fury up to his old tricks, up to his old shenanigans again, because he just doesn't fancy this fight. That's the feeling.
So what the hell does he plan on doing?
I've always been of the opinion that with Tyson Fury, everything has to be just so. That he's not the Spartan he makes himself out to be. And who he'd prefer to fight in December is Anthony Joshua. That he wants to have these fights in a certain order if he's going to have them at all. And that he'd prefer to fight AJ before Usyk.
Because he views AJ as being more beatable. He views that fight as the bigger money fight with the bigger chance of victory.
I think he'd rather fight AJ before Usyk if he ever gets around to fighting Usyk. He doesn't care about undisputed.
Why else would they be at an impasse right now? What's the problem?
You've got the prince, you've got Saudi Arabian money all tied up into this thing. The biggest money in the sport right now. They're willing to pay you a fortune to do this thing in their neck of the woods. You won't get more money than you'll get from the Saudis.
So what's the problem? What can it be now? What can it be now?
I'll tell you what it can be. It can be Tyson Fury fucking up this fight again. That's what it can be.
That's what it probably is. What's the hang-up this time?
Tyson Fury hasn't been as ever present on social media, a fact I'm very thankful for, on the heels of the Usyk fight's collapse. And now that they're re-entering in negotiations, you still don't hear much from that guy.
So we don't know what the problem is or what he claims the problem is.
So nobody with a functioning brain cell who's kept up with the men's cruiserweight and heavyweight divisions is of the opinion that Usyk is somehow scared.
No, I don't think so.
I'd sooner believe it's Tyson who's nervous.